Hello and welcome. It's me, Percita, and this is Percita's Paradox. Thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate you, your time and effort and energy in following me on this thing called YouTube. If you're new to this channel, thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate you. And you know what I feel about you OGs. Thank you so much, as always, for your continued support. So, I don't know about you, but I don't know if you can tell, but your girl is doing rather well on the challenge. I'm down 6.5 pounds, feeling pretty good about it. Excited I'm taking more of a slow approach, not really my usual lose my mind, need 10 pounds in a week. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. Type mindset. I mean, I've gotten older, things are different, so I'm really starting to just kind of like take things more in a better stride. Premenopause, all kinds of stuff. So just growing up in my own mentality of how fitness needs to be for me. How are you doing? I'm super interested to know, super interested to see more feedback. I got a lot of feedback and I'm thankful for that. So if you've sent your information already, I'm not referring to you. Thank you so much. But for the people who have not been sending in your photos, hit me somewhere in the email or in the chat. Let me know what's going on in regards to it. And the chat would refer to the Google document, allows you to actually give me feedback or take notes of your workout as you're doing it. So if you have been with me thus far on this video, be so kind as to like, share, and comment. If you are new to this channel, we're talking about our fitness challenge that we started a couple of weeks back. We are now in the week of 3. Week 3, super excited. I'm about to get ready to send out new information to everyone, and I wanted to come on board today and deal with our business at hand first. So that's why we're discussing the fitness challenge before I get into anything else. So to tag along with that, today's topic is just simply, what are you worrying about? And I'm going to go deeper and say, who are you worrying about? And you may say, well, okay, Percita, what's the tie? What are you saying? We have a weird way of really not wanting to talk about our worries, right? Because we typically want to always be in an affirmational place and speak positive and do that great stuff we call affirmations. And I think that's fantastic because I do it myself. I wake up with my affirmations and prayer. I try to deal with them and speak about them and over my life and family's life throughout the day, throughout the week. But I am still going to be honest with, I'm still human and very human at that. I'm still a sinner. I'm still finding myself trying to combat coveting and envy and all of those other cool things because it's just what life is about. But what I'm noticing more is that the less I do those things, the more I actually worry about myself. Now you may say, well, isn't that a good thing? No, I don't think worry is a good thing at all. I think we all need to understand that when we get to a place of worry, it's kind of challenging our faith and it's challenging the idea of us having a belief system within ourselves, and we subconsciously kind of sabotage ourselves in that. So today, again, the question is, who and what are you worrying about? And I can initially tie it to just what I talked about, the fitness challenge, and how you may be comparing yourselves to others. You may at this point be worrying about if someone is losing more weight than you, or if you really look like you're losing weight to other people, or is this going to be something that you can carry on long term? I mean, I've heard a few things throughout this challenge, but I've also dealt with a lot of different worry issues in my profession as itself, meaning outside of the fitness challenge on the Paradox channel. So I wanted to really just touch bases on how we can get around really focusing on those things, because I have cliche after cliche, but something I always like to say is, like, if we can really take 6 months out of the year to really figure out what it is that we need to fix ourselves about that causes us to worry, and then the other 6 months to actually work on those things that we just said that we found out about ourselves, you really don't have any time to worry about anything but yourself. And worrying about yourself is going to be a way more productive scenario than trying to worry about others, because then at least you're in a position of control. You can't control anyone else's issues. You can't control anyone else's efforts and so forth and perspectives and things like that. So you want to really be in a space of understanding worrying about yourself is everything. I'm going to use the fitness challenge as examples today because I feel as if it's something that we could really keen our senses on in regards to how we can move forward and move better. So first things first is you really have to just focus on you. Focus on you. Focus on you. And you may say, well, I mean, that's easier said than done, Percita. You know, I get up and I do what I need to do, and that's all I need to do. Yeah, but are you getting up and doing what you need to do and then looking at someone else do the exact same thing and comparing yourself? Prime example of that. I used to literally want to be the type of trainer when I was just doing personal trainer work, to be, you know, like a Julia Michaels, whatever that lady's name is, wanted to be on TV, and, you know, be able to say, like, you know, I'm the baddest trainer ever. You know, in my own right, I'm pretty phenomenal. But I wanted the world to know, right? And I would always stress myself out worrying about, was I to that caliber? And was I, you know, even comparable to something like that? And it was always so funny because even as I was getting accolades or even acknowledgement, I was too busy listening to my own worry thoughts to even acknowledge or recognize how great I was in what I did for who I did it for. Maybe not necessarily the world, but my client base, right? My population was extremely happy with what I did. I knew at some point, though, I will say, I did start to grow up and understand that after I started to leave the area where I started, which was like, you know, Antelope Valley area of California, and really had already established my name very well in that area, and then actually moved myself throughout the city of LA and was still, you know, in top 5, top 3 categories of some of the heavy hitters, including celebrity trainers, not quite Julia Michaels at that time, but pretty heavy hitters. Then I started to understand that I was worrying for nothing. And I was doing the work, but still not stopping to actually focus on myself, to hone in on my actual skills, because I was too busy worrying about if I was ever going to get to this place of what I thought success looked like. And it was stupid, because once I literally realized that I was doing well and was very successful in my own right, and very much so acknowledged and recognized as a top trainer in my own right, I almost wanted to leave the industry. It's comical because I never really stopped to pay attention. So I'm going to say that to you again. Number 1 thing to do is to focus on yourself. Number 2, really assess your visual, how do I put this to not make it sound terrible? Your visual expectations of what you think success looks like for you. And you might say, well, what does that mean? It's like so many of us have things like body dysmorphia, right? And we want this infamous body that we could never have. Not because you won't do the work. You're just not genetically made to be that way. Prime example. Your girl has had 3 children. I had them all by cesarean. I wanted to have my children naturally, oh so bad. My first child, after 29 hours of labor, found out that I was inverted, meaning my birth canal is like a funnel. So the closer it gets to my cervix, the smaller it gets. And it took 29 and a half hours for them to figure that out with my first child, because typically your first child, they want you to go as far as you can in labor before they'll try to do anything else. So I had dilated pretty well, somewhere around like 6, 7, but I wasn't getting any larger. And it just came to a point where I had to have a cesarean. Well, that cesarean then prompted 2 additional cesareans because there were 2 additional births. In that process, I did not have plastic surgery in mind, because I just assumed that each time I had the cesarean, my doctor, my OB, would actually cut the scar tissue from each surgery, but he did not. So now I have a nice thick scar tissue area right above my abdominal area that has absolutely nothing to do with anything, meaning there's plenty of women who have cesareans and who have had cesareans, and they have a scar, but they don't have a scar tissue area, meaning it's not as thick, I should say, as mine ended up being. And I say all of that to say, for many years, I would beat myself up that I did not have the abs that I thought I should have, that other trainers had said that they had. So even when I lose weight, make my waistline bigger, which then makes me makes me personally subconscious as a trainer back in the day, because I wanted, all the other abs that every other trainer had. most of these people, bless my soul, had never had a child before in their life. Most of these people were not my age. Most of these people were not my race, my ethnicity. And it was just something that I could not process and continuously worried about because I'm comparing myself to someone else. And it was the craziest thing because I still almost, I would tell you, until like the last maybe 10 years, have figured out like there's no way to compare myself to that. There's no way to be in a space where I don't understand that that couldn't be me. At my smallest, when I just knew, right, that I would absolutely have the flattest stomach ever, guess what? Still had the scar tissue, still had all of the loose skin. Even actually went to go and try to get skin tightening, and it just was not possible. Interesting cliff note, with my last child, I gained 75, 80 pounds. I was at max 202. So I was 183 with my first child, 194 with my second, and 202 with my third. Standardly, I'm 5'2". Most weight that I would normally carry is somewhere between 138 and 140. So you can imagine what I'm saying to you in regards to the loose skin. And not did I ever get any information on genetic makeup and skin elasticity. No one talked to me about that. And at the time, I wasn't thinking about it. So again, I'm worrying about all of this stuff, trying to figure out why it is that I'm not in a space that I am ever doing enough work to look the way I want to look. Instead of understanding that in my circumstance, under everything that I would have had coming against me, that I always looked optimal, that I always had everything that I needed for what I needed, even though it wasn't enough for me. It was definitely the max I could have pushed myself. So to worry about not putting in proper effort to something that I already maxed out was a little crazy. So if you catch what I'm saying, when you think body dysmorphia, think the idea of the person's done everything they possibly can to achieve whatever dream goal it is that they have, but they can only see the negative of whatever it is that they are trying to achieve because it still doesn't look to them the way that they perceive it to look. Because again, all your girl wanted was some hips. I'm an athlete. I've always been an athlete. I am a CIF track champion, 100, 200, 4x1 meter. I try to play a little basketball, but I'm no good with defense on me. So point being is that I've always been built pretty much more in a athletic, non-hip region. With that being said, why did I not understand that all my life? Probably because I was doing exactly what I'm telling you not to do. I was worrying about what other people thought about me, and I was worrying about why I didn't look the way I needed to look. And I couldn't do either. I couldn't worry about what people were thinking, nor could I worry about myself, because I had actually gotten to a place where even trying to say that I was in control of worrying about myself, it was crazy. And I noticed that a lot in fitness, especially for women, and women of all races and colors, because we are the only gender that actually tries to be who we used to be, right? I think just the mental of having children and going through the body as a woman has to go through, we're just continuously always looking to be who we used to be before motherhood or childbirth. And with that being said, it just grows into something complicated in regards to us really being able to stop worrying and comparing and looking at other people and trying to figure out why we're not there. I could add on to that and say, you can't worry about any of the processes that your body is going through because they're all divinely yours. You hear a lot now on the internet where people are saying like, oh, you know, these birth scars or battle wounds and so on and so forth. And I'm not telling you it's right or it's wrong, but I do understand that not everyone can perceive it that way, even though body positivity is important. But you still want to be conscious of what you really are maintaining in your spirit in regards to what you're worrying about and what you're not. You may always feel as if you want your body to look a certain way, and you may even go and pay to make that happen. But my point is that you don't want to worry beyond the point of what you've perfected it to be. Meaning if that is what you've done and that is all your body can do, then to me, that's where the body positivity would have to come in. And you would still then have to decide at that point if there was something else you wanted to add to the body be it surgery in the plastic surgery realm or whatever it is. So there's that second thing. Thirdly, you just want to really be conscious that as you're worrying about what other people are doing, they're worrying about what you're doing. And if you catch the reason why I say that is because we're in a cycle of continuously wanting something that we don't have, right? If you kind of catch what I said in all of what I just said about my body, you always want something you don't have. The women who have hips don't necessarily want them like that. They want a small waist in the hips, or they want something else in the hips. And for a woman like me, who's like, I would just love to look like a woman straightforward, right? I have to turn to the side in my head and like, look, I'm a girl. My voice is heavy. You know, I've come up with all of these idiosyncrasies in my spirit to try to make myself sometimes feel as if I feel less feminine than most. But what I started to understand is that there were people envying what I do and envying what my body looked like. So they're worrying that they don't look like me, and I'm worrying that I don't look like them. And then I started to pay attention to the whole fact of worry is just a perpetual state of crazy, because it just puts you in this space of always longing and yearning for impossible things in your situation, because everything you have to walk in a place of gratitude and thankfulness is just being at peace with what you have and knowing that that is enough, right? So when I'm saying who and what are you worrying about, I want you to stop and understand that it's pointless at the end. I could have given you 50,000 reasons on why I worry and why it would make sense to me and all of these things and da-da-da-da-da about being a trainer and how my body should look as a trainer. But guess what? I have seen through the 20 plus years that I have been in fitness, some obese based trainers and some super duper lose your mind, unbelievably chiseled down, physically fit trainers. Which one's better? It's a preference, because I know people who would say, well, I don't want to train with someone who's not fit. And I know people who would say, but I enjoy training with someone who's not fit because they understand my struggle. You kind of see where I'm going? So which one's right? It's right if it's right for you. So worry doesn't work because it's not right for either party. It doesn't matter in the end what you're trying to worry about, because whatever you're usually worrying about, you don't have control over. And that's the craziest part to me. After it's all said and done, we try to say all these things about what worry is, and it's literally lack of control. Anything that you have control over, there's nothing for you to worry about, and you don't. So what I'm proposing to you today is to understand that whatever and whomever you are worrying about, focus less on that. Focus on yourself, because you can control you and everything about you and make whatever your dreams are come true. Whatever they are. Whatever they are. So when we're talking about fitness, because we're coming off of the fitness challenge conversation, then whatever it is that your body is doing, as long as you know that you're focusing on you and you're looking at yourself in a loving, receiving, receptive way, there's nothing that you can't achieve, because you'll then learn what your body needs and what you need in your mental and spiritual place to make it the best body it could be. And who's to say you won't be happy with it? Hell, after all these years of wanting hips, I finally realized I didn't want them at all. I didn't want them at all. I absolutely didn't want them at all, but I felt like I did. I was under that energy and auspices of like, you know, I needed to be very, very hippie in order to be womanly. And then I just realized it was just something that I had sold myself on, some situation that I had created. I don't know, maybe it was I wanted to wear a particular outfit that looked like it needed the person to be curvy. I don't know. No telling where I came with that information from or who I was looking at to compare myself to. But what I'm saying to you in the end is I started to understand I can't control that. My body is what my body is, and I'm going to receive it and love it as such. And I propose that for you today, that whatever it is that you are trying to tell yourself to do, go through those 3 steps that I just talked about and see if you can actually walk yourself through a higher road of just gratefulness, and understand that in that grateful journey, that state that you become is at peace. And once you become at peace, there's no reason to worry about anyone or anything. So, as always, thank you so much for joining you. Don't forget to remember to hit me in the chat or in my email or the comments below. Let me know how you're doing. If you're waiting for your week 3 info, it will be to you by the weekend for you to start. If you have any questions, hit me. Again, if you've come this far, be so kind as to like, share, and comment on this video, and always feel free to come back. But before you can do any of those things, I'm going to ask you to do the core 3 things of this channel, and that is live life authentic. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me. I greatly appreciate you, and I'll see you later in the week. Bye-bye.